Hi, this is Corinne Pierce. We're going to do some band mobility work for the lower body. So we're going to work on the hips a little bit. So you need a band. This is my favorite thing to use, is a pretty resistant band that's a loop, but you can also use one that's straight. You do want something that's fairly resistant for this because you're using it to support your leg. And you could also use a yoga strap, a belt, a towel, anything you have is totally fine. So you're going to come on down onto your back, and we'll start with the left leg. So we're going to start with the left leg. I'm going to put the band, I like to put it right behind the ball of my foot, but you can play around and see what feels the most comfortable to you. I feel like it gives a little additional stretch there too. And what I'm going to do is, if I can, I'm going to put this leg all the way down. If you need to bend it because it makes your hip or your back feel better, totally fine. But if you can put it down, because then you also get a little bit of opening through here too. So I'm going to go ahead, and the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of check in. How am I feeling? Where am I? If you're mathematically inclined, you might decide what degrees your leg is at, right? But also, how does it feel to be here, right? So my leg is just about 90 degrees. I can feel a little bit of sensation in the back of my leg that feels tight, a little bit cranky, tight in here. So just to check in the beginning before we do this series, you can see what it does in the end. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bend the knee into the chest and then push the foot up like you're putting your footprint on the ceiling. So we're just going to bend and press, all right? So the sole of the foot stays more or less facing the ceiling the whole time. But if it's also more at an angle like this, fine, no big deal, right? You're working where you work. All right, crossing it up. We're going to do 2 more. All right. And then we're going to do something that one of my students at Nerdstrom Gym dubbed the funky hook. I'm going to give you a different view of this. You can see what it is, but I'll talk you through it here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this leg. This is my left leg. I'm going to turn it out to the left. So I'm turning my knee out to the left. And then I'm going to sickle my foot. So I'm going to keep my leg turned out, and I'm going to just turn the sole of my foot to the right. So knee turns to the left, sole of the foot turns to the right. And then I'm going to take this whole thing up in the general direction of my right shoulder. And that was almost immediately a real kind of zingy little stretch. Taking you to another angle for the funky hook. So we're going to, this is left leg, we're going to turn the left leg out. So this is coming from the hip, right? This leg turns out. We're going to maintain that turn out while the left foot sickles. All right, so I'm just kind of folding it over to the right, so the sole of the foot is facing the right instead of facing a neutral position. And then we go in the general direction of the right shoulder, either a little bit farther over, a little bit closer to your head, or also options too. You can kind of play around and see where it feels like you need it. And you'll know when you get there, because in class I always say you either make a face or a noise, right? You'll be like, oh, there it is, right? There's the stretch. So you're gonna hang out there and just breathe, right? When you're stretching, it's really important to breathe like a normal person, right? You don't wanna hold your breath. You don't wanna like huff and puff, because we want the nervous system to be comfortable. We want it to be like, oh, this is a fine place to be, and let us have some more mobility, right? If it perceives that you're holding your breath, it might think you're under some kind of threat and not give you any more. That's a big oversimplification, but it's a way to think about it that works for me. So what you're gonna do now is leave your leg exactly where it is and just release the foot to a neutral position, and then we're gonna point and flex the foot. Point and flex. So we're keeping that turned out leg slightly across the body, pointing and flexing. Really, you're pointing and flexing the whole foot and not just the toes, right? The whole foot comes back, the whole foot moves forward. One more time, right? Moving all those tissues, especially along the channel that the sciatic nerve sits in, right? So it's really important, because sciatic nerves can get real cranky and cause all kinds of problems. Now, I'm going to change my grip. So I'm going to take my left hand closer to my left foot, bring my right hand closer to my body, and I'm going to carry the leg across the body, and I'm going to use the strength in my hands to hold the leg up so that I can let it sink and let this inner thigh stretch out a little, right? Just going to let the leg hang there. I'm going to try to keep this right hip down. If that is difficult, you find yourself rolling, you can bend your right knee and drop that knee open to provide a little bit of counterweight. So either way, as long as that right hip stays down, it's totally fine. All right, again, breathing. And then bringing that leg back in. We're going to check in again, right? So we're going to check in. There's 2 ways to win with mobility. One is you get more range, right? If my leg was here and now it's here, woo, that's a win, right? The other way to win with mobility is if my leg started here and it ended here, but it feels a whole lot nicer to live here right now, that too is a win. If your leg goes farther and you feel better, it's a win-win, right? Let's switch legs. So you're going to take that right leg up. Again, just check in, just notice, compare without judgment how it feels toward the other side. And then we're gonna bend and press. So again, footprint on the ceiling, or as close to that as you can get, depending on where your leg is. It's just kind of, I guess, a movement in there. Get everything moving. The hip, the knee, the ankle a little bit. 2 more. And we're gonna funky hook it, right? So this is my right leg. I'm gonna turn the right knee out to the right. I'm gonna turn the sole of the left foot to the left, right? I'm gonna let that ankle get all weird and bendy. I'm gonna maybe switch my grip a little bit and then take the leg up toward the left shoulder. I'm gonna play. I'm gonna be like, okay, if I go a little more across, a little more up, across. This leg feels it across. I can feel it right through here. Sometimes you'll feel it more in your hip, sometimes in the lower part of your leg. It's a fascinating stretch. I really believe it goes where it needs to go, right? And I'm trying generally to keep my arms, right, they're active obviously because they're holding the leg up, but I want them to be, I don't want to be like clenching to be able to do this. So keeping them fairly relaxed. And then I'm releasing the foot and we point and flex. Point and flex, point and flex. Again, moving all these tissues where the sciatic nerve lives. So we keep things moving the way that they should be and happy. The last thing you want is for your sciatic nerve to get stuck, to get compressed, right? That's no good. All right, and then changing my grip. Right hand goes toward right foot, left hand goes to the other end, and then I drop that leg out to the side, keeping my left hip down and my pelvis facing straight up, right? So I'm not rolling to the side. I'm just dropping the leg, I'm supporting with my arms. I can take that knee out for a counterweight if that feels good, or I can leave it down. Let me breathe. And then take a nice inhale. Exhale, bring that leg in through the center. And you are done.